Hello and welcome to another educational video about screen printing and heat transfers by Catspit Productions. Thanks for clicking on my video today, and I want to try to show you how to print artwork for your digital heat transfer papers, especially like digital inkjet heat transfer papers, which are the most common type you'll find at Walmart or Staples or Office Depot, your office supply stores. This is going to be your home end user heat transfer paper, inkjet heat transfer papers that are intended to be used with an iron but actually work really good with a heat press. So if you have access to a heat press, I would suggest using that. But you can use those Avery transfers that we actually did a video about them. I used the Avery transfers. You can actually use them with an iron at home. So these are your basic home end user type heat transfer papers, and what that means is that they will leave a polymer adhesive down anywhere that you put the transfer paper down on the t-shirt and heat press it, or use an iron and press it to the shirt. Anywhere the paper lays down, it's going to transfer a polymer adhesive down to the shirt whether or not you have artwork there. Okay, so that means if you use freestanding objects or freestanding elements in your artwork, there's going to be a polymer adhesive or ghost in the middle, and that's the rectangular ghost that we're so familiar with the home end user inkjet heat transfers that you find so commonly at Walmart and other such places, right? Okay, so here's a tip on that. Since those papers will lay down a polymer adhesive anywhere the transfer paper lies down on the t-shirt and is transferred to the shirt, you can use a rectangular or a square design or an oval design or a circular design or a geometrical shape that you can cut out easily. I like to use rectangular or square designs, and the reason is because it fills up the 8.5 by 11 transfer paper very well. Okay, so a rectangular design that's able to trap in any of the white elements, like for instance, this design has really white text. It's going to be really white. This is the purest white text I have out of any of these designs, and there will be a polymer adhesive inside this white lettering here. Okay, but because it's trapped inside this square or rectangular design, it's not going to look funny. You will never notice it. It's fine. Here's another one. Takes a minute. My computer's a little slow. Ooh. Okay, here's another one. Now this one here, you'll look at and you'll go, yeah, but look, you don't have the rectangular shape. But yes, I do, because when I trim it out on a paper cutter or a paper trimmer or paper cutter, right? Paper shears, you can make your own rectangle, because this actually isn't a pure white. It's going to put a little yellow in here. So I cut this out rectangularly, if that's a word, and in doing so, down here I cut a straight edge across and a straight edge up and all the way around, and it traps all this stuff in there and it looks fine. Okay, so a rectangular or a square design like these is going to work best. Okay, now the other thing, that's what I just went over here, the other thing is that it has to be flipped. In order to do this, we have to flip it. Okay, but first let's discuss a little bit further about what you need in the image that you choose. Like we're saying rectangular. Okay, rectangular or square is good, and also look at the image size. The bigger the image size, the better. Bigger dimensions is better, and also resolution will be better with a bigger file size. So you're going to be working with a PNG, a TIFF, a JPEG, images like that in those files. GIFs will probably be too low of a resolution, but for this, JPEGs, TIFFs, or PNGs would probably work. You'll be able to find images of good dimensions. Look at these: 1047, 1080, 1920, 1453. They're either 200, 300K up to 500K, or maybe a megabyte close to, or 600. You might have something like that. Okay, you need good resolution and you need good image size. Here's one, 650 KB. That's over a half a megabyte. Big dimension size. That will size up to an 8.5 by 11 piece of transfer paper very well and print crisp and clear and with good quality artwork. Okay, so that's the other tip. Now, back to the flipped thing. As you can see, I already have this design here flipped. You cannot print this out to the heat transfer paper like this, Because if you do, and then you transfer it to the shirt, it will look like this. So in order to prevent that, we print it like this, so it will look like this. Is that confusing? Well, it shouldn't be. It's just a flip. It's a reversal. Okay, so you want to print the shirt or print the transfer paper out in reverse or backwards or mirrored, flipped. Okay, so it reads wrong because when you flip this transfer paper around and press it to the shirt, it's going to reverse again and it's going to look like this and it'll read right. Okay, so that's very important. You have to flip the art. The artwork has to read wrong or read backwards. It has to look like you were looking at it in a mirror in order for it to transfer the t-shirt properly. Okay? Now, with that being said, there are two ways you're going to be able to print your artwork once you have it in. We're on a PC here, obviously. Once you have it in here, say like I do, I have all these files. I want to be able to print these to transfer paper and make t-shirts, right? Okay, now I can do this two ways because of the flipped thing. I know I have to have it flipped, right? So if you're lucky enough to have an inkjet printer that has the option to flip, all you need to do in a PC is right-click print, choose the printer. It's 8.5 by 11. Paper size is going to be the most common that you find inkjet heat transfer papers to use at home, out at Walmart and places like that, right? That's the most common size, so 8.5 by 11, bam. And then over here, when you choose the paper type, if you're fortunate enough to have a laser printer or a inkjet printer that has the heat transfer paper setting, you're going to find that here. And you're going to look for heat transfer paper or heat transfer or transfer. Okay? And that will flip the image automatically for you. Okay? And remember, yeah, like I said, either laser heat transfer papers or inkjet heat transfer papers. I'm really talking about inkjet because those are the most common ones that you're going to find, you know, at Walmart for guys at home using an iron and stuff like that. And you guys are going to be the ones with most of the questions about how to print this out. So that's why we're talking a lot of times the inkjet printers will have this function. Maybe not so much the laser printers, but the inkjet printer will certainly, some of them will have a heat transfer setting. And that'll make it easy for you to do this. If you don't have the heat transfer setting in your paper settings on your inkjet printer, then you have to do like I do, and you have to actually flip it in Photoshop. Okay, I already have it flipped here. But basically, let's go ahead and bring the image in. Alright, so I can just bring the image in like this actually. We can go here and right-click Open With Photoshop. Alright, so here's the original image coming in here that reads right. Okay, now what I need to do is just basically go up to Image, Rotate Canvas, and flip horizontally. Okay, and that flips it or mirrors it. Now, depending on what software you're using, it could be Rotate Canvas, Flip, or it could be Mirror. It could be, you know, the setting for this might be a different name. But basically, you're flipping the canvas horizontally. It's just flipping it over, making it backwards, making it look like it was mirrored in a mirror. Okay? And that's how we have to have it. Now, at this point, you could possibly, like I said, you could print this out of Photoshop. Some of you may just print it out of Photoshop. Or like I do, I saved it as a flipped file, right? And here's my flipped file. And then I can print the flipped file right like this, right-click print. And it's easier for me to print this way. I find the Photoshop dialog to be a little bit cumbersome, so I normally will save it as a flip file, and then I go in here. And for me, since I'm not using a heat transfer paper setting, I go ahead and use the best setting and dump a lot of ink in there, because I know that when you wash the shirt on the first time, it's going to rinse a lot of the ink out. So I'm thinking like, well, if I stain it with a lot of ink and use a lot of ink in there, maybe more ink will stay on the shirt and it'll be more colorful after it fades the first time on the first wash. And that's fine as long as the print doesn't print out muddy or blurry or ruins because you put too much ink in it. You know what I'm saying? Okay? For rectangular designs, you're going to keep this clicked, fit picture to frame, and you would hit print. For a square design, right-click print, getting a little tongue twisted. For a square design, now I know this isn't flipped yet, but for a square design you can see it crops it off, and you would unclick that so it won't crop it. Okay? So I don't know if this has made it a little complicated, but basically, to review, you've got to pick a big dimension size. Get a nice image file, PNG, TIFF, or JPEG. That's going to be 1 megabyte, a half a megabyte, with good dimensions, nice large dimensions, so that you have good resolution to work with, and fill the entire 8.5 by 11 piece of heat transfer paper with a square or rectangular geometrical shape, right? I'm looking for the word there. It could be an oval. It could be a circle, but you're going to want to try to use all of the 8.5 by 11 paper as much as possible, so I like square or rectangular. Okay? And that also will eliminate the problem of laying down the photo or the polymer adhesive onto the t-shirt where there is no art in using these designs. Okay? So I hope that makes some sense. There's two ways to print it. One way, you could go through Photoshop and do it all through Photoshop and flip it in Photoshop and do it all in Photoshop. Or the other way, if your inkjet printer has the function, right-click print and go straight to heat transfer paper if you have it. I don't have that. So I have to do it that way. The other way, the flipped way. Okay, so that's it. I don't know what else to say. If you have any questions about this, please leave them in the comments below. I hope this helped out a little bit. And if you like what you see, please rate thumbs up, comment in the comments below, and most importantly, please subscribe. That means a lot to me and I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.